All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Martha Alter Hines, and I'm here again with my very good friend, Barbara Juniper. And I'm already feeling very emotional because of the opening conversation we were having before recording. But the basic topic that we're going to be focusing on, and really more, I would say, even not talking about, more dropping into deeply, is this moment we're in, which is we're coming up to the equinox. And this is true at the equinox, but this is true anytime. So anytime you're listening to this video, it would be relevant for you. There's, as we were dropping in, I was feeling such a powerful call by the earth herself to remember the fact that she is here doing this life with us and as us, right? And we're in this time, this is September of 2024. So we're in this time when, of course, Pluto has just gone back into Capricorn and we're in the middle of eclipse season. And then Pluto is going to be re-entering Aquarius in November. And there's all these big changes happening on the planet and very difficult things happening, wars happening, all kinds of very distressing things happening. And so it can feel really easy to feel out of balance and to feel, speaking for myself, like I would say maybe a little too much responsibility. Like I can take on a lot of responsibility. Like it's up to me to XYZ thing to help the world, right? And then Gaia herself, when we were tuning in, was just saying to me, come back, literally come back down to earth. And don't forget that I'm right here. I'm doing this with you. And yeah, so that's where we're going to be really dropping in deeply together. And Barbara is a singer and a song healer, a sound healer. And yeah, I'm just really, really happy to be with you as always, of course. Thank you so
Thanks, Martha. Yeah, it's really incredible to be here. And I think what I'd like to do, just to begin, first of all, is to just thank all of you who are listening in September of 2024 and anybody that might be listening at a later date. As Martha was saying, the messaging that we're getting from the earth is appropriate at any time. Yes, it's very powerful right now because we're coming up to the autumn equinox and we're also in this eclipse cycle. Um, but I would like to invite you all for a moment to just close your eyes. And when I was studying as a sound healer, taking my sound healing program, my teacher, Sylvia Nakash, was a long-time student, 30 years student with Ali Akbar Khan, great maestro, Indian maestro. And one of the things I was introduced to was what's called a drone. And typically in classical Indian music, it's a tambura that's played. And that drone is something that one can sing over, tune into, do a vocal meditation with, but it was always described to me as being home. And so I'm gonna just turn on some drone music and I'll talk a little bit more about how you can access that on your own when you need it. For me, it's incredibly grounding. It's incredibly grounding, and I just invite you to just open up, feel your sense of being on the earth, feel yourself rooted in the earth, um, and just allow yourself to let your nervous system be recalibrated by the sound of the drone. Okay? And just let yourself open to receive. Let any tension go down. melting down into the earth, and our beloved earth can handle all of our electrical discharge, all of the excess energy that we don't need to be carrying around 24/7. Let the sound just help you to release anything that's no longer needed, and know that in our mother's wisdom, in Gaia's wisdom, she can recycle all of this energy. Just feel yourself relaxing, connecting so sweetly with the support of our Mother Earth. Slowing down in this moment, letting go of the busyness and really tuning into the rhythm of our Mother, which is much slower than our day-to-day active lives. Keep softening, keep opening, keep grounding. Let your energy move into the lower part of your body, becoming aware of your breath deep in your belly. And just let yourself be in this present moment. Held in love. Held in peace. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know about all of you, but I feel a difference. I feel a difference in the energy in my body, the state of my mind, the the state of my emotional body. You know, like you were saying, Martha, the earth is, she's our mother. You know, she's the mother that is teaching us how to slow down, teaching us how to be present, teaching us to be down in our bodies, be very grounded, you know, embodied, spirit embodied. As I was saying to you the other day, you know, I was feeling a little wobbly, you know, as I think all of us are right now, where there's just so, like Martha was saying, there's so much going on. Um, and I'm fortunate to have an area of grass around my home. And I just laid down directly on the grass on my back. And I could feel this sense of being held by the earth, and that it was just like, ah, I'm home. I'm ground. I'm earth. I'm everything's okay. And it didn't take too long, you know, a little bit of sunshine, and I have busy streets that are all around my home, but it was okay because I could just drop into this sense of being fully connected with the earth. And I know that for me personally, that's medicine. That's one of the greatest medicines in my life. Is nature and Mother Earth. Yeah.
Definitely. While we were doing that, what I was feeling was, um, like Gaia was showing me, um, the earth, and then me, like us humans, including me, here as earth. But then her energy was like swirling like a spiral, holding the earth itself and then us, and swirling up above us. So it was this sense of, and then I was feeling all this grief in that, and I was feeling the sense of like, with all of what's going on in the world, all the pain and the suffering that's just so intense, you know, the sense of like, oh man. And I don't consciously think this. I just being honest of what was there in my emotional body as you were doing that, was this feeling of a part of me knows so powerfully, of course, that we came, all of us came into this lifetime to be here in this time, to be of service, all of it. And yet a part of me is like exhausted. It's just so sad about the state of so many things. And but feeling her so powerfully present, it was like the part of me that usually takes on the leadership role and the responsibility role could suddenly let go because she was holding it so powerfully. And then once I let go, I realized, wow, there is this part of me that I don't think about usually, that is just in grief about all this, everything, so many things, right? And it felt really, um, important. I think what she was basically trying to remind me of is, again, hey, you're not here because you're supposed to, as a human, do this, really. You're here, but you're being held by everything else. Like you have a role, but it's part of the whole, not like you as the thing, any of us as the
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah. It's really easy to get into that headspace that you've got to figure it all out, or I've got to figure it all out. And it's not possible. And what you were saying about the grief, I think, is super important. Sometimes, and I'll just speak for myself, and if anybody who's listening can relate to this, wonderful. If you don't, that's fine too. But I know sometimes that busyness that can become part of, like, well, I have to do this, and then I have to do this, and then I got to answer the emails, and then there's my mom, and there's my grandchildren, and there's things to do. It keeps me at a level that's like a little up, more up and out of the body. And when I slow down to the rhythm of the earth, there's this space that opens up for the feelings that are underneath all that busyness to say, hey, there's some tending that needs to happen to the heart, and how important it is that we slow down, not only to nourish ourselves and regenerate, but to also be present for the grief, be present for the rage and the anger, and hold space for those emotions that need a loving awareness. One of my teachers said, awareness is the greatest medicine there is. It is the great doctor. And when we are in present moment awareness for whatever we're going through, there's a way that it's very healing. We can be with the grief, we can be with the sadness, we can be with the confusion and the despair, and the all the things that we're all feeling right now, because there's just so much going on in this world that feels can feel really overwhelming. And I think it's really wonderful to have moments of time where you can just, it's a kind of self-care, right? It's a kind of self-care, because if we don't tend to those feelings, then they come out sideways in our relationships, or in our self-talk, or the ways that we create narratives about what's going on. And to be able to slow down and be present to what's authentically happening for you without any shame or blame, I think it's very healing and very healthy, actually.
Really key. Yeah, in the eclipse we just had on September 17th, the sun was in Virgo and the moon was in Pisces. Um, and then Ceres, the dwarf planet asteroid, was squaring the nodes opposite Mars in Cancer. So there's this, for me, such a powerful need to be grounded as Earth, Virgo, um, also connected as the all that is, Pisces, but then something so crucial about grief and holding space for our emotional bodies that's just super alive in this eclipse season right now. So again, I mean, speaking to all these things, it's like fits in with all of this right there. And then that energy for me had so much to do with, among other things, like radical forgiveness, right? And the letting go. But we were talking before we started recording about the need for that forgiveness, but also not the spiritual bypassing version, not just condoning things that are not okay. Really feeling the grief, feeling the anger, feeling the whatever is there as part of the whole, being present with all of it. Yeah, super alive.
Super, yeah. And the healing process, you know, many people have probably heard this, in the healing, in the feeling is the healing. And the radical forgiveness piece can happen once we have held and tended to whatever charge, whatever wound. It's like all the trauma work that's going on right now, the ancestral trauma work, the relational trauma work, all of that's going on so that we can forgive.
Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm.
Ultimately, we want to take off that heavy burden of whatever the wounding, the pain, the resentment, the feelings of wanting to get back at people or holding grudges. All of that is just a burden for ourselves that we're carrying around. The forgiveness isn't really so much for others as it is for us to then embody the lightness of our being, the joy of our being, the oh my gosh, I just saw the most amazing documentary about this doctor who recently died in Southern California. His name was George Bursey, and he was 103 when he died, and up to, I think, about the age of 100, he was the director of a surgical unit in Cedars-Sinai Hospital. And he had come, I bring this in because we're talking about forgiveness, but he came through the Holocaust. He came through so many situations that anybody could have just stopped their growth at that point and just dug a hole into the resentment, into the wounding, into everything. But this man did such incredible things for the world of surgery in his life, and his story, just to me, um, really brought forth the necessity of moving forward, and of course doing one's own healing, but then forgiving, and continuing to move forward, and continuing to step into whatever you're here, that feels like your passion, that you're here to do. It feels really important that we don't get stuck in the chains of our own unforgiveness. Yeah, because then they're like leg irons. We can't move forward until we have. And it's so necessary to do the inner healing of our feelings, and our own trauma or our own wounding. And I do feel that being in nature is a place where we can, mother can hold it all, mother can hold it. You can go into the woods and just feel. You can go by a river, you can go to the ocean. And I oftentimes have found that getting into salt water is so cleansing and so purifying, right? Or just even a shower. There's the water, the earth, the air, the fire, all these elements that are our angels. We're speaking now of the earth, but there's also these other elemental angels that can help us do this healing work that we need to do, so that we can be these lighthouses for this aching world. And we also, my experience is, the more I tend to myself in those places that need that, I have this kind of resiliency that is able to lean into the suffering in a more in a way that I don't feel like I'm drowning under it, because that can be a great fear, that if I lean too closely in, it's just going to overwhelm me and I'll just blow apart.
Yeah, I'm thinking of, I would love to hear another song, but before that, I would just say, um, maybe 2 weeks ago, I I can't remember what was going on, but anyway, I was not in a good mood. I was upset or down or something, and I went on a walk to the ocean, so I can walk to the ocean from my house, as you know. And I got to the I got to the ocean. I sat down on a cliff overlooking the ocean, and I was like, and it was sunset, and it was gorgeous, right? And I looked out in the ocean, and I went, what? There were this huge pod of dolphins, like right off the shore. And there were, I mean, I think it's the most, I often see dolphins here, but I think it's the most I've ever seen, ever, right off the shore. And not only were they there, but it was the first time ever I have seen right offshore dolphins jumping completely out of the water. They were flipping, they were like just so happy, so full of joy, right? And just, I mean, really, and anytime I see dolphins, anytime, I instantaneously, it's like the immediate medicine. No matter what my mood is, it's just boom, brings me straight back to
Yeah.
wholeness. Actually, that's the real thing I feel when I see dolphins. But this, it was like the sense of what? I mean, I was in a really, really, really not good mood. Like I think I was feeling very sad. very something. I don't. Anyways, a while ago, I don't remember exactly what I was feeling, but distinctly, I was not in a good mood. And then I saw them, and I had the sense of, okay, just let myself continue to feel not good. But I couldn't stay that way very. It was like,
They're
they
like,
were like,
uh-uh, we're
they're
gonna,
so happy.
we're
And I kept being like, "Oh my God, you're jumping, and now you're jumping, and they were doing flips. I mean, out, they were jumping straight, their whole fin, everything completely out of the water and flipping in the air." It's like,
yeah, yeah.
how are you so happy?
Well, you know what's so interesting that what that story brings up for me too is that I was aware I was having a rough time, recently, and one of my joy bubbles in nature are the birds, just the little songbirds that are around my garden and my house, and also the flowers. I'm a gardener. I grow lots of flowers, and I went into my garden kind of in a similar state that you're describing, just down, sad, and what I realized is the only way I could not feel the joy when I saw the birds and the flowers was to stay in my narrative that was kind of like reworking the past. And there again, it's like you were feeling sad, but the present moment right in your experience was this joyful expression of the dolphins. And the present moment for me were the flowers and were the birds. And it's like, oh, right, get yourself in the present moment, and it takes discipline because we create these habits that we almost, I'm not trying to minimize when we're not feeling good, but we have to be very vigilant around, is this a habit of not feeling good that feels more comfortable not feeling good than it is to feel joy or to feel like I'm okay in the present moment? And again, I speak for me because I could see where, oh, I'm kind of throwing a little bit of firewood on the fire of my narrative that wants to keep me in this loopy kind of sad place. And it's very subtle, and it takes a kind of mindfulness to catch yourself, and also a willingness to say, is this mind track that I'm on like actually benefiting me, or is it like, am I just kind of in a habit here? So that's a really interesting place to play around too.
Yeah, I can completely relate. I was in a very similar kind of balance dance. Yeah, and to say, I mean, what was going on for me in that moment wasn't anything like catastrophic. Nothing horrible had happened. It was really, I was reacting to something
Right.
subjective. I don't remember what it was, but it was something in my life that, I didn't necessarily need to be feeling that upset about. So again, I don't want to minimize either when, anyway, sometimes it's pretty hard not to feel really upset, but I think for me, 70 to 90% of the time, it's largely my choice.
Yeah. I had an interesting experience once, and I may have mentioned this once in one of our other interviews, but I have a very close friend who is a Rosen worker and studied for years with Marion Rosen, who was the founder of Rosen Work. And Marion was an incredible woman. I mean, when I met her, she was close to her 90s, late 80s, and she was doing a workshop locally. And I went because my friend was there, and I was just curious about it. And there was someone, she was working on some Rosen work is a type of body work that helps buried emotions come forward and in a very, very safe space. And Marion was doing a session on someone, and after the session, there were questions because there were students around that were observing her work. And someone said, well, what happens if, something comes up and it just like escalates and gets really big? And Marion thought for a moment and she said, in all of her 50 plus years of doing this work, in her experience, the essential emotion lasts about 3 minutes and the rest is story. And so that has always helped me to go like, okay, I'm having this feeling and I'm wanting to honor it, but I'm not also wanting to feed it with story because I'm sure every one of you that's listening, I'm sure you and I have been aware of when we grab onto something and then we start feeding it all the reasons why I should be sad, and then the other thing that happened, and then the other thing that happened, and pretty soon, you're snowballing. And again, I'm not saying this to minimize anyone's sadness, grief, despair, and we don't have to be afraid of going there and feeling it, because like she was saying, that the essence, the real, the charge, the feeling, it doesn't, if you're right there in awareness with the pure sensation of what's going on, and you're not suppressing it but you're not projecting it outward, it can be liberated into this energy that can lead towards your awakening and towards your becoming more aware on your path. It's just energy, emotion, energy and motion, right? And we don't have to get stuck.
Yes, I think that's the key for me, definitely. And it reminds me even of the image I was getting as you were doing the droning of the us, the earth is here, we're here as part of the earth, but the swirling energy of us being held by whatever that is, the essence of the earth, the spirit of the earth, whatever, the
Yeah.
healing
Vortex,
presence. That,
vortex, right? The
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, the magnetic, I don't know the scientific words, but yes, literally,
Well, you
yes,
were talking about the poles earlier, and so there's this charge, there's this.
yes. Okay, so
Yeah, yeah. So go
yeah,
ahead.
to just explain to people what Barbara's referring to. So before we started recording, I was telling Barbara that on the other day I channeled something for the equinox for the people in my astrology course. And what came through in the channeling was that at the time of equinox, the earth, of course, is lined up in its relationship with the sun in a way in which the poles of the earth are getting equal, they're in an equal parallel relationship to the sun. So, we have equal day and night, right? But we also have the South Pole and the North Pole are getting equal amounts of energy from the sun at this time of year, at the two equinoxes. And so what I was being shown when I was channeling was that the equinoxes, in a sense, are like a polarity therapy session for the earth, which I have never conceived of, never thought of, but I went, wow, that's so obvious, because at solstices, it's the opposite. So it's, the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere is getting much more, in a sense, you could say, attention from the energy of the sun. But it's only at the equinoxes when both poles are being held or connected with equally. And so it's like this, yeah, can you put it in words? I don't know.
I'm not a massage therapist, but my understanding of polarity therapy and from a body work sensation is that you're holding your hands on different parts of the body and you're balancing the energy between your two hands. And that was the sense that I got of this balancing when you came up with that image and what was coming through for you. And so what I was experiencing the other day when I lay down on my lawn was that as I connect like with my body on the earth, and I know not everyone can do that, but if you can, try and find places where at least you can take your shoes off and connect. But that same holding energy that's happening right now at this equinox time, we can tune into by connecting with the earth. And again, even if you're not directly on the ground, I'm in a house right now, and the earth energy is coming up through the floor and through the couch that I'm sitting on. So you can still tune into that. I think it's wonderful and beneficial if you can actually get onto the earth, directly is a wonderful thing, but it doesn't mean you have to. So the song that's coming right now that feels very connected to what we're talking about is a song that was created by my song leader mentor Heather Houston called Shadows and Light. And it's actually a layered song, but I can't do all the layers, but I'm going to just sing a couple of parts. And really, again, it's an honoring of this equinox time and honoring both the light and the dark, and I think that's what we're talking about is that as wholeness, we are all. We are the light of the sun, we are the dark of the sky. We're going to have days where we're feeling more dark, we're going to have days where we're feeling more light. And at this time, with these natural energies that are happening on our planet of this equinox time, this balancing time, it's just a really supportive time to tune into balance. Like what do you need in your personal life to create a sense of balance with the shadows and the light? So it goes like this. Honoring the darkness, honoring the light, honoring the day, honoring the night, honoring the darkness, honoring the light, honoring the day, honoring the night, honoring the darkness, honoring the light, honoring the day, honoring the night. All things find their way into balance. All things find their way into balance. All things find their way into balance. Honoring the darkness, honoring the light, honoring the day, honoring the night, honoring the darkness, honoring the light, honoring the day, honoring the night. All things find their way into balance. All things find their way into balance. Suspended in time, suspended in time, honoring the darkness, honoring the light, honoring the day, honoring the night, honoring the darkness, honoring the night, honoring the day, honoring the light, honoring the darkness, honoring the light, honoring the day, honoring the night. Yeah. Honoring the darkness, honoring the light, honoring the day, honoring the night. All things find their way into balance. And then suspended in time. And there's one more part that's just shadows and light, that's a lower part. And Martha, maybe after, we're done with this call, I can send you the link for, Heather's got a recording of that song on SoundCloud,
Yeah.
and people can listen to it with all the parts. It's really a beautiful song to be tuning into at
Yeah.
this time.
Yeah. Perfect. Wow.
Yeah.
And something came through as you were singing. I was like, oh, that's it. For me, the key with all of what we were just talking about is really the the honoring, right? The honoring that we feel sad, the honoring that we feel anger, the honoring that we feel joy, like the honoring that we feel all of it. And then as we honor it and as we're held in the totality of it, it can find balance. Like we're saying, like we're like on the one hand, we're saying, don't get stuck, come into, find the joy again. But we're also saying, acknowledge the pain and acknowledge the suffering. So, sometimes hard to reconcile all of that at the same time. And then as you're singing, I was going, oh, it's the honoring is the key. And I feel like the honor, when we honor all of it, that helps it find the balance, right? And to not be stuck. Like once we honor it, acknowledge it. For me, like if I'm sitting there by the ocean and I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling really not good, and then I see the dolphins, I'm not going, oh, you're how wrong of you to feel sad. It's more like I'm honoring that I'm feeling sad, and then I have this balancing energy over here, the earth,
Yeah.
beings, and then I can both be with my sadness and it can help me rebalance, like find my way kind of into another state.
You can honor the sadness and then honor the light.
Yeah, yeah,
You're not abandoning either. You're just offering reverence to whatever is present in the moment. And that's so important because so much of the trouble we get into is when we try and stay in the light and not feel the negative emotions, right? It's an honoring. It's like all of it is part of the play of this amazing mystery that we call life. And ultimately, there's no right or wrong feelings. It's just feelings. We're just experiencing the vividness of this being human, you
yeah.
know? And the more we can honor all of it, I think that honoring in ourselves then leads to a reverence towards others and what they're experiencing. So it it moves from being an internal experience here into our relationships, yeah, into how we're being with our partners, our children, our coworkers, the world. This honoring feels so important. Just reverence for life as it emerges moment to moment. And yeah, yeah.
Well, that's also so interesting. Astrologically, I'll say this one thing and maybe we can segue, and I know you have another song that sounds perfect.
Well,
But
it,
before,
it
yeah, go
goes
ahead.
right to the honoring part. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just thinking, like I'm tracking the astrology as you're speaking, and I'm going, wow, it's so perfect because, like I said, the first eclipse of this season, what had the sun in Virgo, which is so much about honoring and the Earth's role in helping us be grounded and honoring ourselves as sacred beings and sanctity of life and all of that. And you and I both have our moons in Virgo, like we both have that energy very strongly, right? Um, and and then the moon was in Pisces. Okay. But then what's so interesting about this eclipse season and actually also next eclipse season is that the equinox is in between the two eclipses. So in this one, we had the sun started at the first eclipse in Virgo, but on September 22nd, it's transitioning into Libra before we get to the second eclipse. And by the second eclipse, it's a new moon in Libra. So there's this like train of energies it's so key. It's exactly what you're just saying, is like we start out with this grounding, honoring energy, and we transition to a new moon that's so powerfully about relationship, right? But I actually earlier today recorded my video for that new moon eclipse, and my entire point in the whole video was, but we have to start by deeply honoring ourself. We have to be rooted and grounded in the honoring of our own wholeness and our own being. And we have to anchor from there when we do the Libra thing. Like otherwise, not going to feel good and not going to work. And
No,
yeah,
nobody will be home. You know,
yeah,
we
yeah,
have to be home to be able to relate outwardly, you know,
yeah,
and
exactly.
super important. It's interesting that a lot of Libra energy in this eclipse cycle right
Yes,
now,
big time.
which
Human.
you know, I think of the scale, you know, I think of the balancing part of like, and that the equinox falls right in the middle is pretty incredible, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And on equinox, I mean, whatever, I've said a lot about this in other videos, but on the day of equinox, at the moment of equinox, Venus will be at 29 degrees of Libra. So, like, the very, 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 very end of Libra. And so that energy is extra, 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 especially because Venus rules Libra. Um, and it's Libra is will be exactly squaring Pluto, who is at the very, very, very end of Capricorn. So there's this whole feeling of like, hey guys, we've been doing this super out of balance way of relating. And I think, not honoring ourselves and definitely not honoring the feminine and not honoring the masculine either. But especially not embodying ourselves as the feminine in these healthy ways. And the honoring just feels so key, so key.
Yeah, it's I think of when I think of honoring, and this is kind of leading into the next song, the last song that I want to sing is one of the ways that we honor ourselves is to be kind to ourselves. And and how do we be kind to ourselves, you know? We start with from the Buddhist tradition, you know, I'm a Buddhist. I'm a member of a Tibetan Buddhist community, and I teach meditation and the ways that, you know, the basis of Buddhism, really the basic principle of Buddhism is do no harm. And do no harm starts here, you know, and the ways that we can create positive or negative actions is through our thoughts, through our speech, and through our actions, right? Body, speech, heart. Well, they say mind is here, you know, but um, and so cultivating kindness towards self is a really important part of the path. And like you're saying, if we're not home, if we're not whole, if we're not grounded in our own being, it's going to be really difficult to have healthy relationships. You know, it just is, because what we're doing internally is reflected outwardly. You know, we know that ultimately this whole phenomenal display is our mind and how we're relating to all of it. So this next song is a song, again, that came to Heather and was inspired by a continuum movement class that she was taking, a practice that was led by a woman named Beth Riley, and it's called A River of Kindness. And it's really it's a tool. It's helping to awaken the rivers of love and kindness that are within us, because we have it. It's not like we have to go finding it. It's already there. It's innate to our being. Like you were saying, we are whole. We have these qualities. They're innate to who we are. It's just bringing them more to the surface and doing the work, doing the healing work that's going to help remove the veils that keep us from experiencing and knowing that we are embodiments of love, we are embodiments of compassion, we are embodiments of wisdom. So it goes like this. A river of kindness flows through me, undulating her way to the sea, surrendering to love's of grace. A river of kindness flows through me, undulating her way to the sea, surrendering to love's embrace, held within the arms of grace, held within the arms of grace, held within the arms of grace. So we can imagine that this river is flowing through us, and like it says, undulating her way to the sea, the sea of the ocean of love, right? And as we surrender to love's embrace, we're held within the arms of grace. And I had that vision of that polarity hold, it's like the mother's holding us, the cosmos is holding us, the sun is holding us, the air, the water, this life is holding us. And as we heal from our wounds that instill in us this basic mistrust of life, we begin to feel like we're being held, and we begin to trust life again, which is probably, I know it's the biggest work that I have to do in this lifetime, and probably many of us have to do in this lifetime, is to begin to trust that we're being held, we're being supported, we are love. The fabric of this universe is love, and it's a more powerful force than anything. Mm.
Thank you. Perfect.
And I hope that all of you who are watching can tune into your basic goodness. It shines throughout your day in a smile, a kind word, an action where you're helping someone out. That's your basic goodness shining forth, and you all have it. And may it grow and flourish and become the ground of your being that you are habituated to, you know. That's my prayer for this day.
Mm, wonderful.
Mm.
That was a gift to my day. Thank you
Mm.
so much.
Thank you, Martha. It's really wonderful to be with you again. We always have so much fun.
Oh, every time. Do you want to tell people what you offer, what you yeah.
Sure. As I said, I'm a meditation teacher. I'm a spiritual counselor and sound healer. And I sent Martha some links to my website, my Monday night. It's a free meditation class that I offer every Monday night through Sukha City Foundation. And yeah, I'm really passionate right now about supporting people on their path, on their spiritual path, because I feel that right now we need the spiritual tools to have right at our fingertips. This time that we're living in really is asking us to have the tools to stay grounded, to stay present, to stay connected to our basic goodness. And I love exploring with people what that is for you, because it's going to be different for each person. There's no one size fits all. And it's just a delight to be able to support people in discovering those tools, what it is for you that's going to help. I liken it to a boat that's out in the ocean, and if you don't have a centerboard or a keel, the winds of change can blow you over. And to me, the tools on the path are like having a centerboard for the boat of your life, and um, it can make all the difference in the world of how resilient you are to the changes that are coming to all of us every day in every way, in specific and unique ways, you know. Um, yeah, so go onto my website, contact me if you want to be on my email list for, things that I'm doing. There's a way to get on that on my website as well. There's also the Medicine Buddha mantra on my website that I recorded. That's also on Spotify. Oh, and the other thing I was going to tell people back to the very beginning of this interview, if you felt a resonance with the drone, if you felt like that was a really grounding thing that you would like to have access to, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, if you just type in drone music and you go, what's interesting is there's drones that are in the key of B, there's drones in the key of C. You can find the one and feel into which one has a resonance for you, because mostly from a singing point of view, you find the drone that feels like it's in your vocal range, where you can, oftentimes we sing on top of a drone to help as a vocal meditation to get ourselves grounded. But anywhere on any one of those websites, you can find a drone that will go for 10 minutes, or sometimes there are even ones that go for an hour. But listen to different ones and pick the one that feels good in your body. Let your body be the guide. Yeah.
Love that. And people who happen to be in Northern California, you do in-person
I
singing.
do, yes, I do in person. Yeah, I do see people in person, but I do the spiritual counseling also on Zoom. Not so much of the sound healing on Zoom, because I really prefer that to be in person, but I do individual sessions in my home, and then from time to time I do group things, not as much as I have been in the past, because I'm really feeling the one-on-one is more, got a little more juice for me. But yeah, just sign up for my email list and you'll know what's coming up. And please don't hesitate to reach out if you're feeling like you could use what's called in Sanskrit Kalyana Mitra, a spiritual friend,
Mm. Well, and I can just say, you're such a rare person who is both deeply grounded, super present right here as Earth, and connected in all these ways. And, you know, it's just such a unique thing. It's such a gift in my life, as you know. And yeah, so I highly recommend connecting with you, however people feel called. I mean, yeah, it's a rare treat.
Thank you, Martha. Yeah, I know my Vedic astrologer, when I first had him do it, look at my chart, he says, "Oh my God, you're like the embodiment of Mother Earth," you
Yeah.
know? There's so much stuff going on.
Yep, exactly.
So
Hmm.
if you need a little grounding energy, call Barb.
Yeah, I do. That's what I do. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you. And
you.
happy equinox to all of you. And
Yeah.
if you're listening at a later time, blessings to anyone who tunes in. And yeah,
Mhm.
your path
Yes,
filled with
please.
ease.
Yes. Please share with us in the comments anything that you want, anything that comes alive, and also include, if you happen to be listening to this around equinox, please maybe share some equinox prayer or blessing for everybody, just in this community. Please share, or for the world, or whatever it is. That would be really beautiful too. Thank you.
Thank you.